Stop scrolling right now. You hear that crowd? That's not a protest, that's a victory party inside the Democratic Party, and they are openly threatening their own leadership. The political ground just shifted under our feet, and the mainstream media is completely ignoring the panic happening behind closed doors. Let's break down the tape.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me be very, very clear. If the Democratic Party becomes the likes of Zohran Mamdani, you have no chance. You have no chance. You might have a Democratic Socialist sprinkled here and there, but that ain't what America is. America's about capitalism. America's about dollars and cents. America's about an economy, a flourishing economy. Okay? And you know what it's not about? Free stuff. Somebody got to say it, so I'm going to say it. Somebody got to say it, so I'm going to say it.
Wait, did you catch that shift in tone? Stephen A. Smith is usually the guy hyping up sports debates, but look at his body language here. He is visibly frustrated. He's spelling it out clear as day. America is about capitalism and a flourishing economy, not free stuff. What's fascinating is how he's directly addressing the massive disconnect happening in local politics right now. The people cheering for radical changes and free everything don't seem to grasp the basic economic engine that keeps cities running. Notice how he points his finger and leans into the mic? That's the universal sign of someone who has hit their absolute limit with bad policy. When high-profile commentators step completely out of their usual lanes to warn you about a political shift, you need to pay attention. He knows that pushing away the very systems that generate wealth is a one-way ticket to disaster for local communities. It's a harsh reality check for politicians trying to buy votes with empty promises.
You just talked about these goods and services. You want the police to come. You want the fire department to come. Well, one of your new candidates, Avila Chevalier, who won last night, wants to abolish the police and all prisons. She was asked 4 times, how would you deal with somebody who committed murder then? What is your plan? And she dodged and didn't answer. She tweeted that Obama is evil, Biden is a rapist, and bleep Kamala Harris. These were not people running on an affordability agenda. These were left-wing extremists that were elected last night at the expense of moderate Democrats. So a seat that you guys do need to win if you want to take back the House.
I don't like the way she sounds at all.
Look at the sheer panic across the table here. Alyssa Farah Griffin is laying out the exact endgame of these new radical candidates, and you can practically feel the tension in the room. She brings up an activist who wants to completely abolish the police and all prisons. Just pause and think about the reality of that for a second. When asked 4 different times how she would handle someone who committed murder under her new system, she completely dodged the question. Instead of giving a real policy answer, she resorted to throwing out wild insults at former presidents on Twitter. It is wild to see daytime television grappling with this level of extreme ideology. Look closely at the other panelists as she breaks this down. They are dead silent. It's dawning on them that these aren't just fringe online theories anymore. These are actual people winning elections at the expense of moderate voters. They are realizing that this affordability agenda is just a mask for dismantling basic public safety infrastructure.
The idea of painting these people as extremists does not hunt anymore, because the moment that you elected Donald Trump and you watch what he has done in the first year of his administration, no one can make the argument that someone is too extreme.
I don't know. This woman goes a lot further than Donald Trump has. And I mean,
Donald Trump is on tape saying that he grabbed women by their private parts. I don't want to hear anybody talk to me about what somebody else said by calling somebody a name or whatever the case may be.
This woman has literally aligned herself with the idea of tearing down Western culture and Western civilization.
When I hear Jared Kushner at Kirk's funeral saying that we are the whirlwind and we're going to come out and they don't understand how we're going to destroy things, I don't want to hear that. Yes, you go back and listen to what Kushner said at Kirk's his memorial service. Go back and listen to the full thing and tell me that is not a full-fledged white power speech.
This panel is a complete train wreck, and it is absolutely fascinating to watch. Charles Blow is practically waving his hands in frustration, trying to shut down the idea that these new candidates are extremists. He's arguing that the bar for extreme has moved so far that no one cares anymore. But watch the dynamic of the rest of the panel. They are all talking over each other, completely divided. When someone points out that a candidate literally said a former official is the whirlwind that will destroy things, the defense instantly crumbles. Look at how quickly the conversation devolves into pointing fingers at the other side instead of defending their own candidate's actual words. It is pure deflection. When major news networks can't even agree on whether calling for the destruction of Western civilization is a bad thing, you know the narrative has completely broken down. They are twisting themselves into knots, trying to justify rhetoric that would have ended a political career just 5 years ago. The panic is palpable.
Concerned at all about a primary challenge in 2 years from, a Mamdani endorsed candidate?
When you ask me a serious question, I'll give you a serious answer.
Okay, pay close attention to this interaction. A reporter literally chases down Hakeem Jeffries in the hallway to ask him about a primary challenge from his own party's extreme wing. Look at how he handles it. He doesn't stop walking. He doesn't turn around to give a confident, unifying statement. He just throws an icy glare over his shoulder and says he'll give a serious answer to a serious question. That is the ultimate political dodge. You can read the defensive energy rolling off him. When a high-ranking leader dismisses a grassroots movement inside their own ranks as not serious, it usually means they are completely unprepared for it. If this wasn't a real threat, he would have easily swatted it down with a canned PR response. Instead, he chose to run away from the camera. It reveals exactly how fracturing these recent election upsets are. The old guard is completely terrified of the new energy taking over, and they literally don't know how to stand still and answer for it.
From the Wall Street Journal, this is Chevalier, who, as you know, just won, was the leader of the anti-Israel protests at Columbia University after the 2023 Hamas massacre. She was for Hamas, they write. She called for abolishing police, prisons, and borders, and said that the U.S. Is occupied Native American land and called the country a effing disgrace, and also favors seizing private property. What do you make of that?
Her views are clearly not my views. And that should be obvious to everyone.
Here we have another major network trying to pin down the leadership on this radical shift. The anchor reads a direct quote from one of the newly elected officials, a candidate who was highly involved in anti-Israel protests and called the country a disgrace. He's reading her exact fiery words right back to Hakeem Jeffries. Look at Jeffries' face while he listens to this. It's stone cold. He immediately distances himself, stating flatly that her views are clearly not his views. But notice what he doesn't do. He doesn't condemn her. He doesn't say she doesn't belong in the party. He just tries to brush it off as an obvious difference of opinion. That's because he is doing political math in his head right there on live TV. He knows he needs the energy and the votes that these radical candidates bring in, even if he despises their actual policies. It is a dangerous balancing act. He is trying to ride a tiger, pretending he has it on a leash, while the tiger is actively trying to eat him.
Calling for abolishing ICE. And, I'm speaking from someone who's running for local government. So I'm calling all of you to join our campaigns to tax the rich, our campaigns to fight for free universal childcare, for fast and free buses. Because when we talk about universal childcare, I picture a woman who is actually needs someone to take care of her children while she goes and visits her partner in a detention center.
This right here is exactly what the establishment is so afraid of. This candidate is talking straight into a webcam from her living room, and she is laying out an aggressive, uncompromising checklist. Tax the rich, universal childcare, and abolishing ICE. Look at the conviction in her eyes. There is absolutely no middle ground here. She's framing basic societal structures as inherent evils that need to be torn down completely. What's really striking is the juxtaposition of her casual, relatable setting, just sitting at home in a hoodie, while delivering incredibly radical policy demands. This is how modern political movements are built today. It's not done in smoky back rooms, it's done through direct-to-camera social media appeals that bypass traditional filters. She openly states she wants to use taxpayer money to fund universal systems while simultaneously dismantling the very enforcement agencies that protect those taxpayers. It's a wildly contradictory stance, but she delivers it with absolute certainty. This is the new playbook for winning local elections, and it's catching the old guard entirely off guard.
That you work with a number of Haitian clients. Break down for me just how devastating all of this is about to be.
Very devastating, and I hope we stop talking about it as the Trump administration won or someone won, because right now America lost. There are going to be a lot of jobs that are open and a lot of people in home health care industries that are not going to receive any service because their providers are going to be removed from the United States. There are a lot of people who are going to die and suffer because of the account of this.
Now look at the sheer meltdown happening on the other side of the aisle. This immigration attorney is on MSNBC, and the panic is completely unfiltered. He's talking about the Supreme Court ruling and framing it as a total apocalyptic event. He claims people are going to literally die and suffer because they are being removed from the country. Pay attention to the intense emotional manipulation happening here. Instead of arguing the actual merits of the law or the limits of executive authority, he goes straight to the most extreme, terrifying, hypothetical scenario possible. Notice his intense eye contact with the camera. He wants you to be scared. He even warns that home healthcare industries will collapse. It's a classic tactic. When you lose the strict legal argument, you flood the zone with sheer panic. It really shows how completely reliant certain sectors have become on a perpetual, open-ended system of temporary statuses. When the rule of law is finally enforced, the people who profited from the loopholes react exactly like this. The political landscape is fracturing right in front of us. If you want to keep seeing what the media won't show you, hit subscribe and stay sharp. See you next time.